Since Ilia vacated his championship, Islam doesn't want to fight him. Islam said he's not fighting him. Topuria saying he has a title fight. Topuria saying he was promised a title fight. There has been so much that has come with a fight that hasn't been signed, that hasn't been announced, that if announced would be tremendous, but it hasn't.
Daniel Cormier has poured cold water on the possibility of a high-profile clash between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, and his comments have sparked debate throughout the MMA community.
There's so much to this fight, and now you finally get someone, right, from Team Islam speak publicly about it, and that's the great Khabib Nurmagomedov. Guys, Khabib is about as straight a shooter as you're ever going to find. I'm telling you. When he's mad at me, he tells me. When he's mad at someone else, he tells you. He doesn't hide. Khabib doesn't not speak truthfully to you, right? So when you hear him say things publicly, take it as fact. This isn't him posturing. This isn't these guys trying to raise the price on the fight or anything. This is a true emotion, a true feeling, because honestly, that's how these guys operate, right?
In Cormier's view, the super fight that many fans are dreaming about is nothing more than hype. According to him, there's a harsh reality Ilia Topuria and his supporters must accept. This fight isn't happening anytime soon, and it may never happen at all. Daniel Cormier explained that if Islam Makhachev beats Ilia Topuria at lightweight and Topuria then loses again, the win won't add much to Islam's legacy, making it a risky move.
That Ilia moves up and gets a title shot right away. Islam beats him. Then Ilia fights again. He loses again. So basically, he was a nobody at 155. Islam beat a nobody at 155 because of that time. But because of that, in terms of legacy for Islam, for his resume, I understand Islam's risk.
Before Daniel Cormier, Islam Makhachev had already rejected the idea of fighting Ilia Topuria as he was not interested in giving a chance to another small guy from the featherweight division. Islam admitted that Ilia is a good fighter, but he was looking to get his second belt instead of fighting another featherweight.
I'm tired to give chance the small guys, you know. I need my second belt, you know. It's nothing excited. He's a good fighter, he's a good skills fighter, but I don't want to give him chance, you know. I need second belt. They fight for what? For me, it's nothing. Just his name. I don't need his name. I need the belt.
Recently, Khabib Nurmagomedov also clarified that while he respects Ilia Topuria as a champion, Islam Makhachev doesn't have much time left in his career and isn't interested in fighting featherweights moving up without proving themselves at lightweight. He said Islam wants legacy-defining fights against established lightweights, not short-notice opponents or those jumping divisions without earning their spot.
Мы, как команда, мы считаем, что Topuria, он достойный боец. Но он чемпион, защитил пояс, выиграл очень серьезных ребят. Но эти все ребята, которые были в 66, даже тот же самый Холлоуэй, который он выиграл, он перешел на 70, он ничего не сделал. Из-за этого нам нужно, чтобы Исламу тоже немного осталось. Если так посмотреть, Исламу скоро 34 будет. Но Ислам тоже хочет драться не с Topuria и с Волкановским, или который вышел на замену с Майканом. Ислам хочет драться с большими именами, которые заслуживают, который давно уже в 70 килограмм. У нас как бы ничего личного нет, но, пожалуйста, если ты переходишь вес, заслужи, и у нас примерно вот такая позиция.
Daniel Cormier explained that the reason Islam Makhachev's team isn't interested in another super fight like the one against Ilia Topuria is because of how past super fights were received. He pointed out that even after Islam beat Alexander Volkanovski, who was the top pound-for-pound fighter at the time, he didn't get the respect or recognition he deserved. Cormier said that in a true super fight, the winner should feel elevated afterward, but Islam didn't experience that because people saw it as him beating a smaller opponent.
Both of them, Islam won. Now a third time? Okay, let's imagine that Ilia moves up and gets a title shot right away. Islam beats him. Then Ilia fights again. He loses again. So basically, he was a nobody at 155. Islam beat a nobody at 155 because of that time. But because of that, in terms of legacy for Islam, for his resume, I understand Islam's risk. So when these things started to get said, I was trying to explain to people that Islam had fought the champ Volkanovski at 145. The first fight was competitive. The second fight on short notice, Islam was able to finish him. I believe that in those interactions, the response was why he's more opposed to, if that's the case. It sounds more now like it's not worth it. I believe the response to those fights is why they feel it's not worth it. Because in those fights, you had a guy in Volk who's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Unquestioned, he beat him, and he did not get the respect or the love that might have been anticipated, right? Super fights mean that the person that comes on the other side of the super fight feels a lift after winning said super fight. I did it. I felt it after beating Stipe Miocic. Islam Makhachev, he had the fight, won the super fight, didn't feel the love. Because it was like, well, you beat a smaller guy.
Daniel Cormier, who has spent years training alongside Islam Makhachev and Khabib Nurmagomedov at the American Kickboxing Academy, isn't just speculating. He's speaking from first-hand experience and insider insight. According to Cormier, when Khabib speaks, it should be taken seriously. There's no bluffing, no negotiation tactics, and no mind games involved. When Khabib shuts the door on a potential fight, it's for genuine reasons, not for hype or promotion. Cormier emphasized that Khabib's recent comments about Ilia Topuria not being ready reflect the honest stance of their close-knit Dagestani team.
But Khabib's talking about the risk versus the reward, essentially. And the reward or the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, at least in the first case. Now, is Ilia Topuria better than Volk? That's a question that I want you guys to actually help me with.
Moreover, Khabib has made it clear that Islam Makhachev is open to fighting anyone, but emphasized that it has to be fair. He said Islam has already faced featherweight champions moving up to lightweight multiple times, and now it's happening again. According to Khabib, Islam deserves a real contender and should have a say in who he fights next.
Подерется, пусть станет реальным претендентом, и Ислам будет драться с любым. Ислам же сказал, я буду драться с любым бойцом. Но каждый раз Ислама, ну хорошо, один раз, 2 раза. Сейчас еще 3-й раз дают чемпиона 66, который переходит на 70. Ну, извините меня, ну, как бы Ислам тоже имеет вес в этом.
Daniel Cormier also explained that he understands the hesitation from Islam Makhachev's camp because, in the end, the reward hasn't matched the risk. Islam has beaten top opponents in dominant fashion, but the recognition hasn't always followed. For Makhachev, legacy is important. Cormier noted that Khabib has said the same. Islam will fight anyone, but time is limited, and every fight now has to matter in terms of building that legacy.
I get the hesitation because I know that at the end of the day, the juice has not been worth the squeeze for Islam. And he's beating all these guys and beating them dominantly. But to this guy, Makhachev, legacy matters. Legacy matters. And Khabib went into that, right? He goes, Islam will fight anybody. Islam himself said, I'll fight anybody. But he doesn't have much time left.
UFC legend Chael Sonnen argued that Islam Makhachev won't fight Ilia Topuria, and the reason is simple. Khabib said Topuria hasn't proven himself yet. According to Khabib, if Topuria moves up and loses, then Islam gains nothing from beating someone who's already been exposed. Sonnen pointed out the logic. Islam wants to move up to welterweight and challenge for the title, but if the welterweights use the same argument saying Islam hasn't proven himself at 170, it creates the same kind of roadblock.
Islam is not going to fight Ilia Topuria, and it's for one reason. Khabib himself said this is our problem with it. He has not proven. And when that proof comes, it can only go up or down. And if it goes down, we don't need a win over a guy that's down. So come in and prove it. It's a fair point. Islam would like to go to 170, and he would like to challenge for the championship of the world. So for anybody at 170 to say, I'm not going to face you because you have yet to prove yourself.
Furthermore, Khabib also shared that Islam Makhachev is interested in moving up to the welterweight division, but they won't pursue it because Bilal Muhammad, a close friend, competes there. For them, personal relationships matter more than chasing titles.
Ислам Ислам хочет 77 подраться, но мы там не можем драться так, как там Белал. Для нас близкий человек, из-за этого мы не можем менять отношения на пояса.
The welterweight champ Belal Muhammad also has similar thoughts, as he said that he would never fight Islam Makhachev due to their close bond from training together. He explained it's not about money, it's about respect and loyalty. Instead, he's willing to move up to middleweight and let Islam take over welterweight. Belal believes he's close to earning a title shot at 185 and even called it the easiest division right now, taking a jab at fighters like Strickland and Duplessis.
What about if he says you got to fight Islam?
I would never fight Islam because that's different. We train together,
right.
and you know, when you're sweating with somebody and you're bleeding with somebody and you train with somebody like that, it's just a different relationship. So like, it wouldn't be about money for me or for him. I don't assume. So like, I would never want to do that. Like, they've helped me so much. So for me, I would rather go up to 185 and let him just take 170 if that's the case. Since I've already had to fight my way up to 170 and I've been 10 guys, like, I'm 2 fights away from being able to challenge that 185 and saying, hey, I want to be double champ. Like, I think 185 is probably the easiest weight class besides Hamzat. You're like, bro, Strickland and Duplessis.
Meanwhile, there are a lot of rumors that Islam is waiting for the result of the Belal versus JDM fight, and if Belal loses, Islam will move up to the welterweight division to win his second belt. However, Belal Muhammad advised Islam Makhachev to get his fight signed, as he's confident that Islam won't lose at UFC 315. He knows that he has ruined Islam's plan, but at the moment, Belal is determined to remain the champion. Belal suggested that Islam should start his camp right away, regardless of who his opponent is, because he's certain of retaining his title.
Seems like maybe there's some sort of holdup. Have you known him to be desirous of becoming a double champion prior, maybe more than trying to go down as like the greatest lightweight champ of all time?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We said it, and he's, oh man, you ruined my plans. It's one of those things, like, oh, you won the belt, you ruined my plans.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, where there's people now, they're waiting to see what happens this weekend. But I tell them, like, I would get your fight signed, because I'm not leaving Montreal without the belt. I'm still gonna be the champ. So start your camp right now. Whoever you have in line, whoever you have in store, you're good.
Recently, Joe Rogan and Ilia Topuria also discussed the potential outcomes of the upcoming welterweight title fight. Rogan mentioned that if Belal Muhammad loses, Islam will fight for the belt against JDM. However, Topuria feels even if Belal wins, the UFC will still try to get a fight done between Islam and Belal. Moreover, Joe Rogan pointed out that Jack Della Maddalena is a dangerous fighter and could very well win. If that happens, Rogan believes a matchup between Jack and Islam would make sense too, especially with Jack as the new welterweight champion.
Islam and Belal, they've been talking about Islam fighting Belal.
That's going to happen.
I would like that to happen if Belal wins, but that's an if. Jack Della Maddalena is a bad motherfucker. He's good, man. That guy's good.
Even if he wins, they're going to make that fight happen against Islam.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, if Jack Della Maddalena wins, then Jack is the new welterweight champion. And, you know, maybe he fights Islam. That makes a lot of sense.
Joe Rogan further explained that Islam will never fight Belal because they are friends training together, and most importantly, Khabib wouldn't like that idea. But Topuria doesn't like this kind of thinking, as he believes that everyone fights with their training partner, and there is no issue in facing each other inside the cage.
The problem with Islam fighting Belal is that they train together. And I think, you know, they had kind of said
how
that
many
they would
guys
never...
we see fighting between each other that they used to train before?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think they should fight.
Yeah, they should fight.
I definitely think they should fight. I think Khabib doesn't like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
On the other hand, the new featherweight champ, Alexander Volkanovski, is hoping to get a rematch with Ilia Topuria, possibly at lightweight. He respects Topuria's decision to move up and chase a second title, and says if the stars align, their rematch could be a huge fight. Volkanovski added that if Topuria wins the lightweight belt and defends his own title again, it would set up a perfect scenario for a high-stakes rematch.
Wasn't the case, and you got to respect what he's doing. You know, he wants to chase he's done with the featherweight, wants to chase the lightweight. Let him do his thing, and then if we do it, maybe we do it at lightweight. You know, double champ again. Maybe does that? You know, I defend again. Does that put me in a position to imagine that if he was to win and then we have a rematch?
Oh God, that'd be incredible.
Oh man, like it doesn't get much bigger than that. Like, that's perfect world for me. But again, you just a few things need to fall into place for that to happen, and that's obviously in time. So let me just do my thing until that happens.
Alexander Volkanovski also talked about the highly anticipated potential clash between Islam and Ilia Topuria, admitting that the lightweight champ would be a tough opponent for Ilia Topuria. Still, he believes Topuria has what it takes to land a decisive shot. Volkanovski complimented Topuria's striking skills, especially his boxing, and highlighted his calm, calculated approach in the cage. Even when the fight isn't going his way, Volkanovski noted Topuria remains focused and continues looking for the right moment to strike. He added that Islam would likely fight carefully, fully aware of the threat posed by Topuria's knockout power.
Topuria moving up to lightweight. If he does fight Islam Makhachev, you obviously fought both guys. How do you think that fight goes?
Yeah, so it's look, it just comes to can Ilia catch him? You know, that's what is, and he definitely can. Ilia's very, especially with his approach, he really backs his strike and his boxing. He really knows that he will eventually find the chin, and he's stoic till that happens. You know what I mean? He is on task, and he doesn't, you know what I mean? He'll go, even if things aren't working, he's still going to try and find it. So I think Islam's going to be a tough matchup for him, because Islam can be quite defensive and safe. I think he's going to know he needs to play it safe with Ilia, because he knows Ilia's going to have that puncher's chance.
Georges St-Pierre praised Islam Makhachev's skill set, acknowledging that he's the champion for a reason and currently looks unbeatable at lightweight. However, St-Pierre reminded that no one is invincible, anyone can lose or make a mistake. He noted the depth and competitiveness of the 155-pound division and expressed interest in seeing who Islam will face next.
George, Islam Makhachev right now looks like no one's going to be able to beat him at 155. What do you think of his skill set in that weight class and his career going forward?
His skill set are amazing. I mean, he's champion for a reason, but nobody is invincible. Everybody can lose, everybody can make a mistake. And yeah, there's a lot of competition in this weight class. It's very competitive, so I'm interested to see who he's gonna go up against next.
In another discussion, Georges St-Pierre shared his insights on the potential matchup, praising the skills of both fighters. He acknowledged Islam Makhachev's ability to dominate his opponents effortlessly at times, showcasing his control inside the octagon. St-Pierre highlighted Makhachev's aggressive style and elite grappling, and he believes the high level of skill from both fighters adds to the excitement of the potential fight for fans.
Yeah, I mean, that's another same thing. I mean, Topuria, when he touches, it falls, you know, and on the other side, Makhachev, he applies so much pressure. He's an elite grappler. I mean, they're both good in every areas. It's a great fight for the fans.
On the contrary, Jorge Masvidal showed strong confidence in Ilia Topuria's grappling abilities, saying he would bet on him without hesitation. Masvidal highlighted Topuria's offensive grappling and especially praised his takedown defense. He pointed out that if an opponent goes for a takedown and makes even a small mistake, Topuria can quickly turn the tables, gain control, and put his opponent in serious trouble.
I'd bet the house on Ilia. His grappling, offensively, it's very good. If like you shoot it on this guy's legs and you make a mistake and you're the one going for the takedown, he has a very good chance that he might put your ass.
Dustin Poirier believes that if Ilia Topuria can defend Islam Makhachev's takedowns, his striking could be more effective and he might have the advantage in power. Poirier noted Islam's improved striking, especially his evasiveness. However, he concluded that the size difference would likely be too much for Topuria to overcome.
How do you think he would do against Islam?
I mean, if he can stop the takedowns, I think his boxing is better than Islam's. I think he's a bigger puncher. Yeah. Islam's technique is getting a lot better on the feet. He's kind of crafty and elusive. When I fought him, you know, he fought at a weird range, but I think the size difference is just too much.
Michael Chandler highlighted the noticeable size difference between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, noting that Islam is the naturally bigger lightweight. He praised Islam's elite grappling, but acknowledged Ilia's edge in striking. Chandler suggested that if Topuria can keep the fight on the feet and avoid takedowns, he could be a serious threat. Still, he sees Islam as the favorite due to his strength, experience, and all-around abilities.
If Islam fights Ilia, I mean, I think there's definitely a size difference. I think Ilia is a lot smaller than Islam. Islam is a big lightweight, a tall lightweight, and he's good in every area. However, Ilia's definitely got the edge in the striking department, and Ilia is very, very, very patient. Now, if he's able to not get taken down and he's able to just patiently break down Islam with those big shots that he lands, the big punches that he lands, it's going to be a good night for Ilia. But I think if Islam gets his hands on him and gets him taken down, I mean, grappling with 145-pounders is a lot different than grappling with Islam, who is one of the best grapplers that we've seen in a very long time. He's strong. He's great at doing damage and getting good positions. I'd have to give the edge to Islam just by size, by strength of schedule thus far, and defending the belt, but I wouldn't count Ilia out.
However, Chael Sonnen dismissed the idea of a significant size difference between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, stating that the weight gap between a 145-pounder and a 155-pounder is only about 10 pounds. He referenced Muhammad Ali, who weighed 198 pounds as a heavyweight champion, and George St. Pierre's win over Michael Bisping, despite the size difference. Sonnen questioned the strong belief that Ilia had no chance against Islam, highlighting that in wrestling, the toughest opponents are often the top fighters from one weight class below.
There is no size difference between Ilia and Islam. It's a 145 versus a 155. Do 45-pounders and 55-pounders not know? You weigh the same thing. You're talking about a 10-pound spread in the worst of cases. Are you aware that Muhammad Ali, when he was the heavyweight champion of the world, weighed 198 pounds? George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping comes to mind. Lighter of the two, George St. Pierre, winner. I don't know how Ilia would do with Islam. I'm just blown away by the analysis that he would have no chance. That's very strong language. What piece of history are you basing an advantage to the larger guy? I would love an answer. Tell me a time that the lighter guy got outmanned. Every wrestler knows the hardest guy to take on is the top guy from one weight class below you.
Well, this is all we have from today's video, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. After Daniel Cormier's statement, the much anticipated fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria is unlikely to happen anytime soon. But the fans will continue their wait, and we will let you know whenever there is any official confirmation. So make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get instant notifications about our latest videos.